All right, good morning. I can't believe it. Voice cracked on the first note. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody out there? Not working. I see the logo. Well, we're here now. We're here now. Good morning, everybody. Lorraine, Frank, Art. I think I saw my mom pop in over there. Todd Hall, Thomas. It's gonna be a fun day. Let me get the sweat off my brow here a little bit. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm gonna run over here real quick, and I gotta hook up my other thing. I was getting a bunch of stuff ready, and I was almost ready, and I decided that I was coming on at 10 o'clock regardless. I didn't quite have everything hooked up. Today's events are got a little bit of experimenting in it. You know how I am. I love to experiment, and trying to get my experiments ready, well, it took a little doing. So let me get this camera controller up and ready to roll. We're looking to have fun. We're going to extend the rim on this particular bowl. And as soon as this pops up here, I'll show you from the overhead. We're going to extend this. We're going to cut off this kind of clear section above our fluorescent spin gems. And we're going to cut this off, and we're going to recast that. So we have a two-part casting there. But I need to go move this monitor right over here because the light is shining right on it, and it's going to drive me nuts. So I'm going to jump you back into that overhead for just a second while I walk over here in front of this camera and see if we can't adjust that. There we go. And see if that's not better. Good morning. Let's see. And Glenn's here, and Michael's here, and Corey's here. Gang's all here. We're going to have fun. Let's see if Bradley can make it all work. You know me, I love to experiment. Today is experimental. This one especially is experimental. The one that's not experimental so much, but then again it is this little guy. This is what I call the feather cup. You've seen the pictures of it. I'll give it to you on the overhead. This is the new resin that we're developing. This is not available yet, so don't go trying to say, hey, Bradley, can I buy it yet? This is the new water clear. And I've already drilled a mortise in there to get ahead of things. So we're going to be turning this guy. That's the second part of today's little project. So that is experimental in that the resin is still being developed. What I'm going to do here is a little bit experimental because I couldn't quite get everything to fit. And I'm working with a couple of different chucks today. Usually you see me with my Easy Wood chuck. I decided to go with other chucks. Let's say you don't have an Easy chuck. Not everybody's got one. So how do you work around grabbing issues if you don't have a multitude of jaws and all the different things? So I thought, well, I've got all these other chucks around. I might as well go ahead and work with them. And also the Sorby chuck, which you haven't seen me use, which Spirocraft carries, we carry the Sorby chuck, happen to have just the right jaws, a little set of 1 3/8 inch jaws to work for this, for turning our feather cup. All right. Good morning, Todd Hall. So I wanted to bring out a variety of things. I've got that, and I've got this is actually a Nova Titan on here right now, and I've got a Vic Mark over there. We don't sell either of those, but I've got them. I own them. And I got a bunch more over in the other shop. Jeff Peters, good morning. First day of vacation. What a deal. And you're going to start stabilizing today. That's great, Jeff. Have fun. Hey, if you have any questions during the day, Jeff, you know, that text thing, we're quite good at it, you and me. Shoot me a note. Give me a call if you have to, if you're having trouble when you're first getting into your stabilizing. I wish you the best of luck. So, let's see. I'm pretty well set up here. This is kind of a goofy setup. Let me go to the end shot for you. As you can see, I've got this piece. Nothing I had would fit it right now in a normal convention. But all I really want to do is turn away this top section, okay? So I just needed to get it basically between centers. It's slippery as can be with the mold release on it. Now we're going to turn it, and we're going to recast it. We're going to clean off the mold release from before. I'll use lacquer thinner. We'll get this guy nice and clean. And then we're going to cast it up into a bowl. I always got to remember to change the camera. We're going to cast it up into a bowl, and I found the perfect bowl, I think, for this, to give it a new rim. And we're going to give it a rim in black. A little bit of black resin. I got my resin there, and I was still shuffling around trying to get my cups and all that stuff ready. But you guys know how I roll. We're going to have a lot of fun. As always, you got questions, pop a question in there. Let's see. Looks like everything is running pretty well. Everybody can hear me fine, so we're off to a good start on this wonderful Monday morning. Now, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to because I just do. Last week, we had a wonderful time turning the goblet, and people like to give, feedback and comments and all that. And I just got to share this one with you and say I'm probably going to get in trouble, but that's okay. There was a gentleman commented, don't know who he was, he might be here today, that I talk too much in my presentation. And the comment came at 25 seconds into the presentation. So I thought, well, that's kind of odd. I mean, at 25 seconds, I'm just getting rolling. So I just thought it was kind of funny. I wanted to share that, with all of my folks, the regulars that y'all come here. I thought it was kind of interesting and actually quite funny. And I told Bridget about it, and we had a good laugh. And I went on. I'm always going to talk. If I don't talk to you, if I don't quit squeaking my voice, I'm going to have a hard day. If I don't talk to you, I can't explain things, and I'm here to explain things. And if it takes me a little extra time to explain things, then I'm all good. Tell him to turn down the volume. Good answer, Jeff. So anyway, enough talking. Got to get a tool in here. We got to cut this off. Now, I've got this sandwiched in the jaws. This is the Titan with a set of 4-inch jaws. And I've got it pretty well trued up. Let's see, we're on the front camera. Let me show you overhead. The main bowl doesn't turn too far out of line. And when this was cast, it sat crooked in the pressure pot anyway. So I figured I didn't have to have it perfect. And I went back and forth. No, hear me out on this one. I went back and forth because when we cut this off, say here's my marker, we're going to cut this off. We could cut it off, and we will, in a perfectly straight line. I could also take a grinder. So remember, I'm going to do this cap in black. We could do these kind of things to it. We could take and grind a profile into it if we wanted to. Now, of course, I didn't get my grinder out in time. But if we did, then we would have this wavy line, possibly, depending on how this all comes together. So, there's a lot of different things you can try. That's why this one is an experiment, all right? You just never know what's going to work and what's not going to work, because I'm going to need to float this piece. I'm going to need to raise it up off the bottom of the bowl that it's being in, so the resin, the black rim casts taller. So I'm not sure exactly how that concept would have worked. I'll try another time. I didn't bring the grinder, like I said, to grind it today. So that's all good. Talking with ChromaCraft, I double-checked my plan. Dad, you're here? That's great. Good to see you, Dad. And Mom's in here. Arthur says, keep talking. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to keep talking, all right? I come from a long family of talkers. You can just ask my mother who's in here. Now I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was going to say. And we're going to cut this off. Oh, when I put it in the bowl, I'm going to make sure that it sits up a little bit. But one of the reasons I chose this particular bowl, so this bowl has a curve to it, right? If I go to the overhead, you see the curve in the bowl. Well, what that's going to do is it's going to give me a curved rim when I cast it. So I'm kind of casting part of the shape into it is part of my plan. It's my idea, my theory. You know how I am with theories. I've always got theories, but I was going to get a tool and cut this. That's what I was going to do. So let's cut this guy away. I'm not going to use a parting tool. I'm going to use a carbide. I needed a negative rate carbide tool. And I think I'm going to get two tools up here. I'm going to get up my number 1 hollower, and it does have a negative rake in it, does it not? Or is it got standard? No, it's got a standard cutter in it, so I won't be using that. Double check that. I'll use the micro detailer because I just put a fresh cutter in. I brought a fresh cutter. I didn't put it in. I'm having crazy Monday. But anyway, we're just going to cut this. We're going to cut through this thing. Doesn't really matter how we get there. Oh, I know what I was saying. I talk too much, I get distracted. We want to have a rough surface. Even though the epoxy will physically bond or chemically bond to a degree, it's still a physical bond as well, and we want to make sure we have some texture. So we're going to cut this, and it should be fairly rough, just coming off the tool. We don't want it to be perfectly smooth. I may even put a few undulations in the contact surface, just so we have a greater profile. All right, so we have more contact surface. Yep, I got it. Talk to Chromacraft. Losing my track, losing my brain. All right, so let's see here. We need a face mask. We're all good to go. I've been threatening to wear this out to the grocery store recently, see what people thought in the world of needing to be safe. That's not a bad joke. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes it gets a little crazy out there, and we got to be able to laugh at life a little bit. So there's the end shot. Probably the overhead shot is going to be better for you. I've still got a little tool rest in place, which is fine. I don't need it a lot. Make sure my tool is at the center axis of the lathe. I got something over here on the lathe I need to clean off real quick. There we go. Everything is snugged up. I got a rubber chucky in here holding this guy. So I'm pressed between centers. Now I'm not going to turn it at an outrageously high rate of speed, because we just want to cut this off. I say outrageously high, that's 1,900. And I'm just going to kind of start. Now I don't want, with this tool, can you see here? Let me come up here real quick. I'm going to stop that. With these type of tools, you don't want to fully load both sides very much. You can load the very tip, but if you load both sides way up into here, you'll get a lot of vibration. It can even catch. So you basically want to make relief cuts and keep making yourself a little extra room as you go. All right, you can't just kind of jab it in there and go. So I'm going to pick right here at the top. And then I'm going to move over and take a little extra way over here, because I got a little ways to go through. This thing's about a ½ an inch thick or so. Because I have such a kind of a tenuous grip, even though I don't think it would really go anywhere, I might knock it crooked, and we don't want to do that. Now what I got to do is figure out what I can do with this ring after I cut it off. There's a whole other project right here in this ring. I always feel like I'm doing better. I feel good. You know, last week I felt great. I think the last week was one of my personal best for Monday Methods. I felt real good. Everything was kind of ready. And today's good. I'm remembering to get all my cameras on manual focus. So I started doing Monday Methods. I was looking through some historical footage stuff the other day. I think the first one, the beginning of Monday Methods, was in August of last year. So almost a year, and I was next door over in the workshop, and I think I had my Harbor Freight pressure pot out, and I was just standing there with the cell phone, testing the whole idea of being out here and doing the streams. And almost a year later, well, here we are. We obviously have made some progress. I'm having fun. I love it. You folks come and join me out here on my Monday mornings. So like I say, I keep working myself a little extra room on either side. Because I don't want the tool to catch. And we're just about there. I see daylight. It's not perfectly round yet. Okay. There we go. So I'm just going to lay that back there. And I'm going to go to, I'm sorry, I was on the front camera still that whole time. So we cut off the ring, popped right off of there. So let me go to the end camera for you now. And you can see our surface here. So we'll do a little more cleanup on that, and let's see what we get here. We'll go ahead and cut all the way through. It's really hard as a turner to try and make things rough when your brain tells you you're supposed to make things, you know, smooth and all that. Okay? So it looks like I want to take a little bit more off. I see right in here. Now the resin is going to come, in theory, it's going to come up just a little bit, but I want to make sure that I've got all my I want to have only the stones there, just to be sure. So I can switch tools now. I can switch over to a round cutter. I tried to get all organized out here this morning, and I'm gonna go to the middle and put my negative rake tools all in one group and my regular carbide tools in another group. So that bumping you hear there is just because the inside is out around from when it was cast. All right. So that looks pretty good. Now what I really wish was that my number 1 hollower had a negative rake on it. But let's see, do I have a CI5 here? Yes. So what I'm thinking about doing, because I want to have the most surface area, right, and I want this to be rough, I'm going to take my little micro with a CI5 negative rake, and I'm going to cut a groove in here, if you will, a cove. We'll call it a cove, and I need to raise my tool rest up just a fuzz for this, so that I increase my surface area, all right, just for more physical properties. That's all we're doing that for. Okay, so right in the middle of this, let's see how we're doing there. That's working good. So that way we have a much larger surface area, relatively speaking. The better the surface area, the better the bond. I don't know if you know this one, but if you're working with polyester resins and you're doing an inlay, say you've got a piece of a bowl, whatever it might be. I got to have something close by here. I've always got something somewhere. Of course, I got to grab the biggest thing in the house. Let's say you wanted to do an inlay somewhere on the surface of this or in this rim right here. With epoxy, you can cut it straight in. You have straight walls. Let me go overhead here real quick. I know I'm getting off track, but it's kind of on the same message. If you wanted to put an inlay, a small inlay right in this rim, which would be a cool feature, with epoxy, you could just cut your groove and have parallel walls. If you're using polyester, because it doesn't bond that well and it shrinks, you would have to cut like a dovetail, so that it would be locked in with the wood. Just something to think about. If you're using epoxy or urethane, it shouldn't shrink, and it's going to bond really well. The polyester is going to shrink some. Just a little sidebar right there for you. Okay, someday I'll finish this guy, along with all the hundreds of others that I got hanging around here. All right. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave that be. Let's disassemble some of this. Let me get some of this cleaned off of me. Got to look my best at all times. Change gears here a little bit. We'll be mixing up the resin next, and I got to clean this. So there's my little ring. Don't know what I'll do with it. Probably nothing. You can see it's not perfectly round. I think I got enough stuff around here as it is. All right. Get my Chucky off of here. So hopefully, it's been 97 today. And I don't know if you remember, I said last week that I was going to take this studio apart and get the insulation in. Well, the weather decided that it was going to rain all last week, at least the first part, so I didn't do that. So maybe this week, maybe it's not going to rain this week, but hopefully it won't get too bad in here today. Yeah, it wasn't bad this morning, and it's actually quite comfortable now. I don't get too hot and stuff unless I'm just, doing a lot of running around. So that was the first time I've actually ever pulled this Titan out of a box. I got all kinds of stuff over there in the other shop. All right, so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to mix a little resin, but first let's figure this out. So the general idea is that's going to sit down in the bowl. We're going to pour the resin in. It's going to sit down in the bowl. We're going to pour resin around in here. But if I can get you to visualize, I want to lift this up, say maybe a 1/2 inch off the bottom, so that I have a 1/2 inch thick wall. So the bottom of the bowl, change cameras, the bottom of the bowl is going to be sitting, say, a 1/2 inch up off of this. All right, so that I have plenty of resin. I'm going to do it in black. Got a couple of theories. This is the piece that was in it before. That's not going to work for me. But when I cast this into the bowl, then I'm going to have that curved profile. I'll use my black jacket for you there on the top, if you can imagine that. You got to be able to visualize the other side. So my rim is going to roll back over, and that's actually kind of cool. I kind of want to have a rim that rolls over, because I may cut a recurve in it just to make this a little more interesting, because the shape of the piece, just because I used just a pretty straight little plastic bowl, is not overly compelling. So I thought I'd add something to it, right? So I think my next mission is to find what's going to hold this up, and I have a variety of potentials here. Look at that. So there's my favorite yogurt cups, right? Yogurt cups always seems to save me. So this yogurt cup is sticking up. Get my tape measure. It looks like maybe a 1/2 inch or so. And it's also going to help displace anything. So we've got 5/8. Let's say it's sticking up 5/8, which is fine. Okay? So if I put, and go to overhead for you, so you can see the concept, the process. There's my yogurt cup. This is going to go over top. So now I have that 1/2 inch space. The resin is going to fill in the bowl, come up, and it's going to come up the sides. So I'll have plenty of resin in there. So that's the general idea. Now, getting it perfectly centered, I could spend the time to find the perfect center of this and glue that all in, but I've already sprayed mold release on it, so I'm not going to worry with that. Okay? But that's the general idea, is how we're going to do this. And we're going to fill up above, and which should be cool. All right? So let's mix some resin. Question is, Bradley doesn't know how much resin exactly he needs, because he didn't get around to doing the pre-measure and all that good stuff, which is not uncommon. But I think kind of my normal batch will probably do the trick, I'm thinking. And if I'm short, I'll just mix some more. So get my lathe protector out here. I just keep this right underneath the lathe now, because it's easier for me to mix right underneath the camera for you, and all this stays right in place and everything's good, and you can see it, and I don't have to move the cameras around and all that kind of good stuff. All right, so Chromacraft epoxy resin is 2-to-1, so we use 3 yogurt cups, 2 for resin, 1 for hardener. That makes our main mix. Very easy. Remember, these are free after breakfast, so I don't worry about it. You can use the metered cups, and I have them, and I do use them. But again, this makes, I'm really used to this volume of resin. I've used it many times, and I kind of know what it'll do for me. And again, if this isn't enough, if it's not enough, because we're just doing black, unless I change my mind. We can always make another batch to add to it. And I got smarter. The compressor is outside. It's on a different circuit than the air conditioner. Remember, was it 2 weeks ago when I had the compressor in here for a cast, and it was on the same circuit as the air conditioner, and everything went dead? So we have gotten smarter in that regard, so that doesn't happen, we hope. So again, I have my 3 cups here, and my overhead is zoomed in pretty tight, but I'll show you. Boom, right there. So there's our 3 cups. Now I just need my cup for mixing, so I'm going to walk around the corner here real quick. And grab, of course, my second most favorite. And I guess I should put my gloves on. I got them out. The good old cottage cheese cup. I know this will fit in there. Okay, so put on my gloves so I don't get messy. Should keep your gloves on at all times. At least I put them on occasionally. I don't always get it right, but I try. Anybody do anything good over the weekend? Anybody do any good fun turning? I'll wait for responses. I know sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get you guys to respond. Oh, but I'd love to know what you're up to, what you're doing. Of course, if it's too hot to turn, I kind of get that. Let's see. All right. In goes the hardener. Let me go overhead. That's overhead right there. In goes the hardener. And we'll just keep these handy in case we have to mix another batch. In go the 2 resins. Now again, like I said, the surface of the piece needs to be roughed up, and with the tool and no sanding, it is roughed up. I mean, I couldn't get it much rougher than that without getting some 60 or 40 grit out and trying to sand it a little bit more texture. So I'm fine with that. These are drained down. We'll get a stick now and scrape these out, because there's always quite a bit left over in them, surprisingly. We'll get that out of there. But yeah, so I've got the pressure pot right behind me this week. Usually I would have it out front, but it's right behind me. Michael, you went to the AAW Virtual Symposium. How was that? I saw some people had talked about going. Mary Alice, hey, good morning. Didn't know you were in. Did it go pretty well for them? I heard. Who was it? Glenn Lucas had like 2,400 people watch his presentation. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, Glenn is awesome. But I hope it went well. Frank, you made a small peppermill with Osage orange. You know, one of these days I'm going to turn some Osage orange. I have bought it out at the woodworking shows and then given it to my demonstrator when I have the guest demonstrators. Seems like a couple of times I bought Osage orange and then gave it away and never turned it myself. So anyway, I'm scraping this out real good. Okay. And we'll put that one off to the side. And my number one, where's my favorite mixer? It may not be in here. I may have to use this stick after all. Let's see. Oh, it's got some glitter in it, but that's okay. I'll bet it's glued to it. If it gets a little bit of holographic, that's all right. You guys know how I roll. So we'll get this good and mixed. Then I'll add the pigment. I want to get this mixed first so that I can see that I don't have any swirls in the clear. Okay. You know, I used to, when I was first starting, I would put the pigment in right away. Now I've learned to mix my resin well, make sure that it's well blended between the hardener and the resin body. Then I'll add my color, my catalyst. Listen to me. So Marietta says it was good. That's great. They had 4,000 registrants. Went very well for the first attempt, Michael says. Good deal. I know that they left it open longer, but now 4,000. I mean, they usually have 15. What's this, about 15 or 1,800 at the live symposium. So 4,000. Much better attendance, of course, because you didn't have to go anywhere, which is pretty cool. So that's saying, and I think a lot of people are going to see this, that may be the future, not having to go, which means we're all going to have to change the way we do things. Could be the future of things, especially if this virus stuff doesn't seem to clear up very quick. You know, you can't replace, you know, holding a tool and talking to people in person at length about a tool or how it works or a process or anything like that. But it's the next best thing, and them having a lot of people is good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So shaking up my black pigment. I've learned to always shake my pigments. Now black is pretty strong, so we don't need a lot, but because this is a fairly good size pour, I'm going to put about 6 or 8 drops, give or take. And then we'll go ahead and mix that up. And I want a pretty good opaqueness to this, so I will check it with a stick. I'll put a little stir stick back in here, and I may want to put some more in there. And again, I could add some bling to this. I don't know. Okay, so do I add bling to the black or not? I'm taking a poll here from the audience. Should I put something in, some kind of bling in the black, or should I just leave it straight jet black without any glitters or pearls or anything? What do you guys think? I'm open. Everything's an experiment to me, so I don't mind. If anybody has an opinion if I should do anything to this black resin or not, or if I should flash it up, or if I should just let it be straight up. So you can see that's fairly, it's still a little translucent for me. I want to put a little bit more pigment in there. Just a little bit more. Now, you know, sometimes if I was doing a blend, I would wait, but we're not going to wait. We're going to get this mixed, and we're going to pour it and put it in the pressure pot. My dad calls for one kind of glitter, silver. Okay. Of course, assuming I can find it over in my magic drawer. You know how my drawer is. Okay, alrighty. Let me, since we're looking at getting some silver in here, and I'll do that for my dad. I'm going to go back to the overhead shot there for you. Let's see what we got in glitter hanging around. It may be over in a box if it's not in the drawer here. I got some silver pearl. I got black, that wouldn't do much. Iridescent gold. Like I said, I got a guy who's going to come in and clean up all my drawer here and all my boxes of colorants right after he insulates the walls. It's going to happen real soon. Silver holographic. Now the glitter is going to sink, but it's going to sink to the top because we have this upside down. So, you know, I'm going to end up not leaving this thing alone at all. I'm going to end up throwing all kinds of stuff in here. You watch. I got those other fluorescent colors. Why does iridescent gold keep coming up in my hand? Maybe I have a lot of it hanging around. I got the silver holographic glitter. Copper, purple. Is iridescent gold speaking to me, or do I just have a lot of it? Okay. So I've decided to go ahead and make a real mess out of this thing, because I can't leave things alone. So I'm going to add 2 glitters, Dad, because this thing is, got to remember, this is what, you know, I'm in the overhead. We got all this going on here, so I might as well add a bunch of stuff to this after all. All right, now don't let me forget to clean that. So remind me before I before I drop it in there that I got to take some lacquer thinner and clean that thing off. I've got 2 glitters, dark gold and holographic, silver holographic, all right? And then I have iridescent gold pearlescent powder, and I have silver pearlescent powder, all right? So that's the mess that we're going to make here. And just because everything I like to do out here seems like it's an experiment, and I don't mind playing with things. It's fun. Let me experiment for you, and then you can say, hey, that worked. Bradley did that was a cool thing Bradley did, and that was a bad thing Bradley did. That just didn't work at all. That looked like junk. So let me give you the overhead there. You can see where I'm adding in the silver pearl powder, and then this iridescent pearlescent is the iridescent gold. And then I'm going to add the dark gold glitter. Again, the glitters are going to end up on the top of this thing. Of course, it's going to set up fast because of the heat, even though it's air conditioned in here. You know, I've been having with the heat wave. It's now 96, 97 kind of stuff during the day here. Okay. All right. So those are our colors that we put in there. Going to give this a swirl again. Get this all blended up, and we'll let it sit after I give it the first mix. And then I'll clean that piece off with the lacquer thinner. So actually, I think this might be kind of cool. Okay. Now, if I have to make more, the ratios were pretty even as far as the glitters and the pearls that I put into it. All right. So it shouldn't be too hard to match. And if it's not identical, well, that's all right. Okay. So there's our mix. And I know the light's kind of weird on this camera, but there's an idea of what we're looking at in there. Okay. So that being said, let me clean this guy and get my paper towels, because I don't want it to have mold release on it, obviously. You lost sound? Did anybody else lose sound? Let me know. I see sound on my end. So Maria may have to reboot. Anybody let me know if the sound has disappeared on you. Hey, good to see you, Maria, by the way. Hopefully the sound is just on your end. I'm actually peaking pretty hot. I didn't set one of the switches this morning. I'll see you in a 30-second delay here, it looks like. So the lacquer thinner will take that mold release right off of this guy, and it'll actually almost get sticky. Okay, so it's not on the output end. So Maria, just if you may have to refresh your browser and come back in sometimes, unless you're on a phone, same thing. Goofy things happen to sound. So I'm just wiping this off with lacquer thinner, and it's not slippery anymore. And I'm going to throw that first paper towel over here, not in the corner. I don't want to have spontaneous combustion out here and burn my place down. But I'm going to take a second one to make sure there's no residue from the first one on it. And I want to show you something here. I'm going to jump you to the overhead. See how even though we had mixed it, now some of the gold iridescent pearlescent powder has floated back to the top. That's why you want to always mix it once, let it sit if you have the time, and mix it again, because you're going to get some of that float back up to the top. So we'll mix that again. All right. One more wipe down in this guy, just to be super certain. This is one of my new mold sources, which is the Dollar Tree, you know, where everything's $1, and sometimes you get 3 or 4 things in a stack for $1. So it's, you know, got some flat spots in it and whatnot, but the price is right. The price is right. Okay, and we'll hang this guy up to dry over here as well. Seal up our lacquer thinner. What's the time, like 10:46? So we're doing good. We're doing good. All right, back to mixing our resin back up. Make sure that that's all in suspension and dissolved. Now let me think something through here. I've got that, and this is going in here. I just want to think a couple of things through. Da-dum. That's going to be that. Okay, I think everything should do what I want. I'm trying to decide if I need to put mold release. I think I will put some mold release on my my piece here as well. Okay, just because I don't, it's going to get sandwiched on this little rim here. So I want to make sure that it doesn't, nothing sticks to it. And if it gets sandwiched, I can peel it out. I mean, it shouldn't stick to it much, but mold release will always guarantee that it doesn't stick. All right. Now again, optimally, I would have glued this cup into the center. I would have centered this. I mean, it's very close to the center. The bowl has a natural rim, little line right in here. So it's going to kind of want to self-center, but it's not going to be perfect. Optimally, I probably would have tried to self-center that. Okay. Now the question is, do we stick this in place and pour, or do we pour and then drop that in? I need the weight of this to hold that down. And I don't care if some of it goes up underneath here. I really don't. So I think I'm just going to leave that right there. I'm just going to kind of set it in the center. I know it's not going to be perfect, and when I put it in the pressure pot, it's not going to be perfect. But I think that's what we're going to go with. Jim Haynes says, news on the face mask, Jim? No, I haven't. I did go hunting a little bit for it the other day and didn't come across it. I need to get on that for you. I apologize for not getting on that. All right. Let's go ahead and go with our pour here. And I'm just going to pour this down the side and let it find its way around. Well, this is going to work great. This is going to be just what I was looking for. And I think, so I'm looking here at the side. So that's plenty of resin in there. Well, I've got it held up too. You can't see what I was doing. I was looking down here at the side because I can see the resin line. And I don't want too much, but I don't want too short. Now, I can always turn it away underneath. So I think I will add a little more. I'm not going to be short, and that's a good thing. I know it's kind of hard to see in that light the way that That works. And what I'll do is when I get this in the pressure, stick it over here in the pressure pot, I'll recenter that again. Okay. So I've got resin left, which means I'm going to make another little something here today for a project to do something else with. So I think I'm going to use, whoa, what's handy here? What's handy? What would make a good little pour? Just a little, I think we'll just use this guy. Unless my eggs, I could make some eggs. Let me make some eggs. Find my egg molds if they're handy. They're usually right in here. He says. His egg molds are usually handy. Of course, today's egg molds aren't handy. Look in one other place. What did the man do with his egg molds? He doesn't know, so he won't worry about it. Okay. So for the rest of this resin, I'm just going to put it in. I just sprayed some mold release on this little guy right here, and we'll just fill it up as well. And I know I'm off to the side a little bit where you can't quite see it as well. But that'll make a little disc, and we can make another little resin paperclip cup out of that or something like that. Never waste it. Never waste it. There's always something you can do with it. So we've got 2/3 of that. That's about 2 inches deep. So that'll make a nice little something to sit on the desk, hold paper clips or whatever. It's never a waste. Now my pressure pot is back here behind me. So I think instead of you having to look at the back of my head and everything else, I will put you on the overhead camera. And I'll give you a little view of our next little project coming up. The feather bowl, maybe I turn it over. I know the light's kind of bad on that. Not great. I know what I'll do. Here's what I'll do to give you something to look at. Let's do this, because it's where we're going anyway. So this is the Sorby Patriot chuck. And one of the beauties of the Sorby chuck line is they got a whole bunch of jaws, all kinds of jaws. And that's why I ended up going with this today. I ran out and grabbed this. And let me get, where's my wrench? And because I knew they even had a little 1 inch, this is 1 3/8 inch jaws. So I've got little 1 1/8 inch jaws on here. And I've made my mortise, or my recess. So there we are, and that's in the end camera. Yeah, so you can see there now. All right. Now this will be fun to turn when we turn this guy. All right. I may zoom that camera in for you a little bit, because now that it's in there, I can see it's a little bit further away. I don't want to over tighten, because that's the one thing about using recesses. I don't want to break this resin. So we'll make it snug. Okay. All right, let me get this stuff in the pressure pot over here. I'll bang and clang and get it laid up. And I can actually double stack this in the pot. Let me do one thing here real quick. Do, 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 do. And we'll get that centered in there. Centered enough. I'll probably have this, if it's warm today, I may pull this back out. If not, I'll have it out in the morning and show you how it came out, what it looks like. And I'm stacking that second one right on top of it. Making plenty of good use of my pressure pot. Alrighty. Get this guy clamped down. I'm looking forward to turning this new resin. This is the first time I've turned it. It's the first time I've turned this variation. Like I say, we've been working on this, and that's one of the things I love about the folks at ChromaCraft. They don't let a product out until it's right. And we've been messing with this for probably at least a year now, trying to get the ultimate water clear resin and the best potential, best possible turning properties at the same time. So it's been an endeavor, and I'm happy to help them. It's been going well, and this stuff is really pretty cool. So I'm excited to turn it because I actually haven't turned this variation of it, and I think we're getting real close. Now they may yell at me for showing it to the public, but I get yelled at all the time, so I'm not terribly worried about that part. Getting hooked up over here. Bring my air up to speed. Compressor's outside, the lights don't go out. Life is good. Cool beans, we are in the pressure pot. That project is underway. Oh, you didn't miss the balance, Arthur. Even if you were gone, that was just the first part. It's time to actually turn something now. Get rid of those sweaty gloves. Put this back down here in my contrast position. Get some of this stuff out of the way. All right. Let's have some fun. What do you think? Let me adjust this camera for you over here. I want to get in closer for you to make sure that the focus is right. It's on the manual focus. Get my speed up, make sure when it runs. That it stays focused. It's not perfect because I zoomed in. So let me make a quick adjustment, and you're watching me. So let me give you that overhead for a minute so you don't have to watch me run around and do all this. Let me make an adjustment on this good old boy. Get it zoomed in there. See if we can't get it in focus. There we go. So that says it's at 4.3 feet. That looks pretty clear. And you can tell me, I'll switch over there. Susan says, hello, I'm having trouble viewing your live broadcast today, but Anthony and I wanted to thank you for the ChromaCraft casting resin starter kit, one from second anniversary. You're quite welcome, Susan. Flip your computers on and off, whatever it takes to jump in here. I'm so happy I got your note the other day, yesterday. I'm glad you guys got that. It always makes me happy. We give things away and people appreciate them and use them, and I know you're going to use it. So it makes me super happy that you're working with the product, the ChromaCraft stuff. It's a great product. I encourage people to give it a try and work with it. It really does work well. Like I said, they don't put anything out. Sometimes it's actually a little frustrating for me. I want to get things out to you, to my customers, Spiracraft customers, as quickly, and I'm excited about it. But they won't let it go until it's ready to go. But thank you, and I appreciate all the support from you and Anthony there, Susan. Okay. All right, where am I at? I am ready to turn. I think that looks good on the end there. There's no telling what'll happen with this little project. I'm going to stick my finger up there, make sure things look in focus. That looks pretty good. In the overhead, I'm going to move my tailstock, or my headstock, excuse me, so that this is a little bit more. Oh, that's going to mess everything up. So let me do this. When I move this over, it's going to change that camera that I just adjusted. But that's what I got to do. So let me give you the overhead while I go back and fix this camera now. The lengths I go to. But I want you to get the best view of what's going on, even if it takes a couple extra minutes and a little bit of adjusting and fussing and fumbling. Because otherwise, what's the point of being here if we can't see what's going on really well? That looks in focus on my hand and my ring. Okay. So now we're in there. Looking pretty good. And see, I might put a little more light on that. Just this light, just a little bit if it'll come over. All right. So the story on this, we're on this, is these are feathers. These are dyed feathers that I picked up at. Oh, and see, I can see the green is going to kind of chroma key on me. So we'll see what happens with that. These feathers are dyed feathers that I got from the hobby shop, Hobby Lobby, as a matter of fact, and they're very wispy. And I thought, well, what a great way to test this out and give it a try, and see how this resin works and how clear it is. So I'm not going to take all of this out. I'm just going to leave. I'll probably make it 3/8 of an inch thick or something like that, and we'll see what happens. Okay. So that's the plan. There's what it looks like on the end. Here's what it looks like on the overhead. All right. Okay. Let me get a quick something to drink before I get started on this. Yeah, the one thing about using chroma key process, where did that go? Everything went away. I just went away and completely. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hit the wrong button. That should come back now. There we go. Talking about chroma key and I hit the wrong button. Anytime you got something green, it's going to do weird things. And like I said, I made myself disappear there. Hey, it's full of adventures out here. All right. So we need a negative rate cutter. Looks like we can stay small. I think I'm going to work with the micro cutters today. So I've got round, radius, square, and then pointed, the 3 Easy Wood tools. That's what we're going to work with. Again, I think I'm in there strong enough. I'm trying to decide if I want to have tailstock up or just take my chances with this. I don't know how strong this is going to be, so I'm going to go lightly. We'll find out. If it pops, well, then it'll be a short day. Okay. So get the face mask out. I love having that compressor outside. I can hear it running, but you can't. That's a good thing. Let's see what happens with the feather cup. People, I posted this again on Friday for the weekend for today, and people all in Facebook and Instagram just love this little piece and the picture of it. So find our center, make sure we're at the center, and I'm going to give you the end shot, I think. All right. Give myself about 1,000 RPMs. Now the outside actually could have been polished, but it's not exactly true now. So we'll turn that. But first I want to get this top flat and level. Yeah, I should wear a green jumpsuit and disappear, right? I know Mary Alice, I think, I don't know if you're still in here or not, but Mary Alice Burt, she's been doing, I've seen some of her work with clear resins and dried flowers, and it really looks cool. And that's actually, if you're here, Mary Alice, that's where I got the idea to do these feathers, was from the pieces you showed me when we were talking about doing the dried flowers. And I tried using fresh cut green flowers from my yard just to see what would happen. Okay, so most of it's flat. There's a little spot right there. This spot right here that's still shiny. So that's how much the top was out of true. So this is going to be just a little teeny guy. But I like working on little things. I like working on big things. I like working on anything. But I do love turning 36-inch outboard pieces, and I like making little teeny things as well. Yes, so you are here, Mary Alice. Great. The feathers, yeah. I mean, I'm optimistic that it's going to look cool. Again, my fear is because a lot of the color is inside, is in the middle, but I've got feather on the outside, and that's why I don't want to turn the walls really thin. I want to make sure, and I know I'm going to lose some of the color in the middle, and it's just nothing I can do about that. That's kind of life, as they say. What are we going to do? I'm going to jump to the overhead for you here because I want to true this up. Now I can't get all the way here, but I can get right up against the chuck, and we'll make this true. Now, as far as polishing this today, as usual, I'm not going to take the time to go to the nth degree. I'll probably just use the abrasive paste and see what we get, because I really want to take and sand this really well and see just how much clarity we get. But as we know, that takes quite a while. Okay. And I don't want to take too much off of the outside here at all. And then I'll turn it around when we're done and turn the very bottom there. There you go, make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to take the radius tool down and clean up my round cutter tool marks. This is the Easywood radius. It's a CI6NR, I believe it technically is called. And the smoother I can make this piece with the cutter, the less sanding is required, because nobody likes to sand, I don't think. Maybe there are some sanders out there, I don't know. So when I polish this up, there'll still be some tool marks. Like I said, I'm not going to sand this to the nth degree. Okay. All right. Good deal. All right, let's go back to the end and come in here and start to take the center out of this. I may switch to a longer tool rest. That one doesn't quite reach now, so I'll put a big one back in here so I have plenty of support. Here we go. I'm going to clean that up real quick with the file. Everything around here in South Georgia rusts. I want to make sure this is nice and smooth. Go, just a quick hit. Alright. My round cutter. Looks like I need to come up just a fuzz. That looks about right. Lock everything down. So I think we'll decide on our wall thickness here. And again, I want to leave it fairly thick so that I can keep as much of the feather in the color in the resin as possible. I mean, this is an experimental piece. I'm really testing clarity more than anything else. Now I will say that I have some burls coming from Elizabeth Ross, Two Tree Boys, and I'm going to use this resin. I'll be doing some of the burl casting with the resin and to test this clear resin, because our standard resin has a little bit of a tint to it, and that's why, you know, when you work with a colorant in it, it's not an issue. But if you're trying to have a real translucent look, you need a clear resin. If you're going opaque, it doesn't matter. I don't think I'm getting in the way here. And that looks pretty well in focus. And again, like anything, so this piece is really small, right? It's only 2 inches in diameter. When you're trying something new, don't pour up a quart of the stuff to see what it's going to look like. That's cool, or how it's going to work. Just mix a little bit. Start out small. That way, if you get something wrong or something, didn't go the way you want, and you're experimenting, make little teeny things. You can still, like I say, you can find fun things to do with these, or just give them away to friends if you don't have a use for it. So I'm just working down the side there and cutting the nub off when I get to it. So I love that orange feather. I don't know if you can you see there? That orange feather is running right through the middle of the piece. The purplish violet feather is doing pretty good out here. The teal feather, we're right at the edge of it. I don't want to go too much further because I have a recess here and I'm not used to that. So I can see the bottom is pretty thin. So I think I'm going to stop right there. I got plenty in the walls right there. I might take a little bit more out of the wall, but I don't want to go any deeper. So what I think I'll do is just start to get this cleaned up. This is exciting. I've worked with some other urethane water clears, but I haven't worked with an epoxy water clear yet. So this is the first time for that. So it turns nicely. Turns quite well. Now again, I have my own little concern right there, but let's go ahead and flatten that out. So I love that orange stripe running right through the middle of it. That's pretty cool. I have a little hump right here. And I just want to get that hump out and make myself happy. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Like I say, it's a test piece. I don't want to go super far. All right. So we've got the black. Let me get the tool rest out of the way here. Oh, sorry for that. I mean to drop that and make all that noise. I love the color in here. We've got the violet, we've got the orange, we've got the teal. There's a little bit of black on the back side. Okay, let me see here real quick. There's my compounds. Get my compounds out. Like I said, I'm not going to go to the nth degree in the sanding world on this. No, I'm not going to wet sand it at all. So you use a box turning rest. So you're not extending. Yeah, that makes sense. Mr. Jeff there, Jeff Peters, he was helped me in the Milwaukee show, the woodworking shows. He worked in the Spydercraft booth. Oh, what a great asset. He's super turner and super helpful. He was there for the weekend. He demonstrated for us in the booth, helped with the sales. Great guy. Jeff has... I'm gonna embarrass you, Jeff, now. Give you some credit here. You got stuff coming out in Woodcraft magazine catalog. Is that not correct? Some of your pointers and tips and technique things. So if you folks get the Woodcraft publication, check it out. Check out what Jeff's got. He's got some ideas he's put out there, and the Woodcraft folks are sharing that. All right, so that knocked the big chunks off. And see what else I got in my trove here. May go over to my drawer. Let me go to my drawer. Like I said, I didn't plan to sand a whole lot, so I didn't get all the different papers out and all that stuff. I may have even carried most of them away, as a matter of fact. There you are. It's a sure sign you need to clean up a little bit more when you can't even find your sandpapers. That one. Like I said, I'm just going to hit these real quick. There we go. A couple of more grits in there. That'll do it. That'll do it for what we're up to today. And Jeff, you're blushing. I don't think so, buddy. I don't think you're blushing. So we're doing 120, 220, 320, 400. Nothing extreme, all right? And then I'd have to turn it around to get the very bottom. Which we'll do, because it looks like we'll have time. Now the resin, and because I'm sanding this dry, it gets warm. So when I sanded the feather, and these feathers are what concern me. It's interesting that I cut through the color on the feather. Kind of interesting there. First time I've tried these feathers. Now another thing I think about, I'm going to show you about next week. I kind of stumbled upon this. I have discovered that you can dye resin after the fact with the aniline dyes. So I was using the Chromacraft aniline dyes, and I was dyeing the wood around some resin, and I discovered that it actually dyed the resin, and it does bond. So we could do some color, so I could come back and do something to a piece of resin. I may make that maybe part of next week's Monday Methods, is dyeing resin, adding color to it after the fact. Not in the casting, but after the fact. Okay, So that was my 220. Little 320 here. With the Carter & Son tools, negative rake scraper work for you using the Easywood tools be the way to go. You know, the Carter & Son negative rake scraper is going to work. I don't know that it will stay, well, I know for a fact it won't stay as sharp as long. When I turn stabilized, when I first returned stabilized wood, I went in with my M42, my Carter & Son, and it did great, but it made about one pass, and I had to resharpen it. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to beat carbide for edge holding. There's just kind of no way around that one. But they will work. You just have to sharpen more often. And maybe if you just hone or touch them up with your diamond card, then you wouldn't be grinding metal away, steel away. And just so you can see what this looks like in the overhead for you. This is looking pretty cool. See the colors in the overhead? So when we polish this, theoretically it will become clear. We'll see. You just don't know. But that's what we're hoping for. One more pass here again with the, what am I on, the 320. Hit it with the 400, and then we'll use abrasive paste, and that's where we'll take it to today. Again, I'll get out here with I use 3M Triazic and wet sand, but I don't want to do that. I've got another lathe next door that I don't care if it gets water on it and all that. So I'll do that later on. And then I polish with 3M products, and I get a super, super, super finish. Matter of fact, I'm about to start testing another new one that has just come out. I came across the other day. I'm always hunting for new things. Okay, that's feeling pretty smooth. That's smooth enough for what we're doing. Okay? So, we'll go with the coarse grit first. And we might as well go ahead and do the whole thing at the same time, inside and out, because it's so small. So I always like to wipe it on first to make sure I've got it covered. I'm still on the end camera, yeah. So the one thing I'm seeing here in my experimental process, so when I made the recess in the bottom, I'm going to have to polish that or maybe spray it with lacquer, because you can see how you can see that bottom. You see the white in the where I made the cut down in there. So trying to polish that, of course, would be like the next impossible nightmare. Now you can alleviate that with a glue block if one was so inclined. I just didn't feel like gluing on a glue block, but a shot of lacquer will put a finish on something real quick. So down in that base, maybe I'll just put a quick shot of lacquer in it, and it will gloss that up. This is starting to clean up pretty nicely. I can see through it. Now let me stop and give you an overhead look at it as well. Now again, it's not perfect because there's still some marks in it, and some of that's just the wax. And that shot's not real tight on it. I should zoom that in. Let me change to here and see if I can zoom this overhead in and keep it in focus. I may have to mess with the focus on it. And there we go. And now I just need to refocus that. And let's get that down in focus. There we go. That button, focus and change on the fly. There you go. So now you can see, as we start to clean this up, it's looking pretty cool. But you can see what I'm talking about, the white. See the white down in here? That's the recess. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to keep in mind. So I'll leave it on this shot for you. I'm going to go another round of the coarse paste. Again, what I will do is sand this with my Triassic paper up to 3000, and then use the 3M polishing system that's used for urethane car finishes, and it works great. I know a lot of people have different things they try. Then they go over and buff on wheels, and everything works. It's just what you find that you like the most, that works the best for you. So whatever makes you happy is the one you should be using. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take a clean rag now. I'm going to take all that excess powder off. We're still in the overhead there. Yep. Clean that off. Because you don't want to cross-contaminate. I've been real happy with the 3N system. When I use it on lacquer, when I was doing my lacquer pieces, it's pretty, I don't think you can beat it. I know there's probably people who would argue with me, and that's fine. Opinions are, everybody's got one, and it's okay. You're supposed to have an opinion. But this is looking pretty cool. So how close to the hole from the point on the force of the bit? Well, that's what's concerning me a little bit, Michael. I'm pretty close. Until I pull it off here and put a caliper on it, I don't really know. All right. But you can see that point there. Again, we learn as we go. We learn as we go. Thank you, Michael. I think it is an awesome piece, especially for the first round with this. It's pretty cool. All right. So we got this. I'm going to take off that a little bit, make sure I got rid of all the coarse grit. Because this opens up, and this is why I think sometimes folks over at Chromacraft get, I got junk in here, get a little, not irritated, but I'm always pushing them. Come on, get this stuff out, because I can do a world of stuff for you that I can't do without a clear. Word to tip, don't get wood chips in your fine polish. Bad idea. Can't get a super fine finish with wood chips. I mean, well, there's probably somebody that'd argue that too, but there's not much we can't argue. Anyway, somehow I got wood chips in there, but we'll try and keep them out of our piece here. But anyway, with the clear, as an artist, I've got a million ideas of things. Oh, you should see some of the things, and I'm not going to tell you, that I'm working on, both in my head and over in the other shop. Things to do with the clear resins and different colors, because I love color. I've got some cool things in mind, and I haven't seen anybody use them yet or do them. Not claiming it I'll be the first, but I haven't seen anybody else do some of this stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. But I know I need this clear to make it stand out and make it do its thing. So I'm super excited. Super excited. And let me go to the end, overhead for you. That was on the end shot. Let me go to the overhead for you. This polish is up nice and smooth. Like I say, I didn't really spend much time on it. And I'm quite pleased. And see, that's goop on there. Considering it's only sanded to, quickly through the paces, I think that's pretty cool. A little bit more, because it won't do me any good and get us anywhere to go super extreme when we have coarse lines underneath. So that's the lipstick on a pig kind of thing. You know, we could polish this till the cows come home, as they say. But if we still have some tool marks in it, well, then it's not going to be perfectly smooth, and it's not perfectly smooth. I didn't quite get all the tool marks out, I'm certain. All right, that's enough of that. Now we'll start to take that off. Hey, I didn't know you were hanging around, buddy. You've been hiding out in the corners. I didn't look over at the. I didn't look at the column there on the Facebook page. I just look up at the picture. I don't read the text. So that we're in camera. Again, it's not super polished yet. That's looking pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with this, and I love the way the feathers are so light. I'll take some pictures. I'll get up close with the camera and get some light on this guy, and I'll post them up today, even if it's not completely finished, just because I want you to be able to see the beauty of this feather. And the whole idea, and I'm going to jump up here now, the whole idea I had was these very light, wispy feathers, you know, floating in this body of resin. Let me jump back over here now that I've stopped turning on the end, so you can see those colors in there. I love that orange one that runs all the way across. Just a nice variation of colors, and the feathers are not expensive. You get a big old bag of them. Now it's a little strange when you first, and this is my concern. So if I put the feathers in the resin, are they just going to all glump together? Well, they do. They get all wet, and you put them in your mold with the resin, and they kind of get all wet. But then if you'll take just a toothpick or whatever, and you just basically fluff them up, then they just open right back up, and they're not all stuck together and all that kind of stuff. All right. So that's pretty cool. Let me go. Don't drop it, Bradley. I'm going to go to the overhead. Again, we got to deal with that where I drilled. I love the colors. I love the translucency. Here's the side. Let me see if I can do this right. The feathers make such a nice light wisp. Getting a reflection on this bot. We're getting a reflection right there of the white. But this is a great little idea. These nice wispy colors. It would be hard to get that kind of definition with a powder or pearl in a resin and have the opposite, you know, the clear. So I think that this is a pretty cool thing to do. And I went to Hobby Lobby one day several weeks ago, maybe probably a month ago. Now I don't know, time's been going by, and I came home with all kinds of things, feathers, and I don't know, the things that kids make bracelets out of, plastic string, and all kinds of things. But this is gorgeous, and like I say, I love the feathers, and they're not expensive. You get a big old bag of them. So okay, so let me wipe this down. I'm just curious, even though I still got stuff all over it. I might clean it if I got some denatured alcohol in here. Then I'm going to spray some. Go here. I'm going to spray some clear resin, or clear resin. Excuse me. Clear lacquer down in the recess, and see if it doesn't gloss that up and make that white go away. If it doesn't, then that means, you know, we need to come up with another approach, because obviously you can't have this beautiful clear piece. You want to use it like a looking glass or something. You got to be able to get that clear. So if it means working with a glue block or something like that, well, then that's what we're going to have to do. But this is why we experiment and try things. And I'm looking to see where my lacquer is, and I can see some right over here. I hope you're enjoying this today. This was fun for me. Can't wait to get my piece out of the pot later today or tomorrow. Well, this can is just about empty. Let's see if I got any more hanging around over there. I hate to use the bottom of the jar on something like this. Hey, look, I just happen to have another fresh can. So what I'll do is I'll go to the overhead camera and we'll spray this in here. Now it's going to get on the outside, I get that. I doubt it's going to stick. Again, we're just experimenting with these different things. Okay. For better or worse, and I could shield it with my hand. I don't worry about it getting stuff on me. So I think that may take care of some of the issue for us. Now the lacquer's kind of pulled up because I hit it kind of hard. And I'm going to set that right there for a second. And I might blot up a little bit of that. And then I'll hit it real light. There we go. Stop right there, Brad. So that takes care of a lot. Of course, you can see all the tool marks down there in the very bottom for making the recess. So the other thing would be I didn't have a lot of material. The other option to this whole deal would be to have made a tenon, which is my normal thing. Have a tenon sticking out. We polish everything. We turn the tenon off. We put this in a set of jaws. Boom. We polish up our bottom. No issue. So that's another way to go. I just wanted to go ahead and try the recess. But now, obviously, this being clear, that wasn't a good idea. Now, I could do other things. You could come in here and paint or dye that black, let's say, and maybe make a nice little black insert base for it or some other color. It could be red, green, blue, whatever you wanted to do. So there are a lot of different options there on what you could do with that. So I am very pleased on how this came out. Again, looks like this wall is going to be my issue. And what I could do, so Michael was asking how thick is the bottom here, and I'm zoomed in pretty tight. So there's the answer. There's not a whole lot there. 3/16 of an inch, give or take. So I don't have a lot to play with, but I could chuck this up. I could chuck it up in the lathe, turn this all flush, turn that recess away, which would mean reshaping the outside a little bit as well, and then polish that up. So that could take care of it, and then you would have the perfect piece. So there's a couple of different ways that we can go on this. As usual, there's more than one way to do a project. One might be better than the other. Obviously, if you ask me would I do a recess again on this, my answer is going to be no. It's making extra work for me that I don't want to have to do. Okay, you can't really see that thing there. Wish there was a good way to show this thing off because it's kind of cool. Probably won't sit up on that. Probably can't see it anyway from there. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun. What time is it? 11:39. 11:39. Should we turn a little more resin for a few minutes just to have fun? Throw some chips? I got some stuff right here I've been meaning to want to kind of just turn into and see what it looks like. I'm done with that. I'm done with the other piece. I might as well. I'm out here. We're turning resin today. I've got some pieces I cast a while ago. Matter of fact, I was talking about I did the live flowers in them. So let's change chucks here because I got my, Hopefully that didn't hurt that. I can't imagine it did. I'm going to grab my Vic Mark, which has a set of 2-inch jaws in it, which may work. For what I want to do. because I don't want to take the time to change jaws on that. I even still have my original chuck that my dad gave me when I first started turning, a Barracuda 3 or something like that, which is, it comes in a box and it had 5 sets of jaws. And I turned on that thing for 5 years straight, easy. Wore the gear in the back out, contacted, it came from Penn State, sells the Barracudas. Wore the gear out completely. It's got a circlip on it, so you know it can be replaced or changed, or that's how it's put together. And they said that I couldn't buy that gear and replace it. So I've just kind of put that to this. It's over on a jet lathe next door. I think that's what's on there. Just kind of hanging out, doing its whatever. Let's see. There's one. This is kind of green. This one's got, I got a bunch of these things hanging around in here. I don't know which one's best. This one's got a bunch of berries in it, but the tenon is horrible, and the top is horrible. So that may not be the best choice. Anyway, so I got 3 or 4 of these guys. And I started to bring some other things out. Oh, there's that thing I brought over there too. I got all kinds of goodies around here. Let's see if this one will grip. So many choices. What to turn, you know? This one's got a few flowers in the top. That tenon over there is 2 3/8. I'm scanning, which you can't see. I've got stuff scattered, stacked all over out here. It's kind of out of whack right there, so we can't. The tenons on these are all kind of, I did something wrong when I cast these. Imagine that. And the tenons got all out of whack in the molds, because I use the cups with the mold built in the bottom, you know. All my cups have a built-in dovetail that I use from the stores. Well, something happened and the resin didn't flow down in there very well. And all these tenons are kind of whacked out, so that's why I never did anything with these. So I'm just trying to find something that's semi-close to true, or maybe however I was turning it. I guess that's going to be it right there. It doesn't matter. We'll make it round. And I'll adjust these 2 cameras so that we can see what's going on. So I'll go to 3 while I adjust 2. Pull back out on 2, like so. It looks like that's still in focus all right. Who knows what I'm going to make? I have no idea. I'm just going to make it up as I go. Okay, so let me go to 2 and we'll adjust 3. A little something like that. That should do the trick. There we go. We'll just make some ribbons. I've got to clean this place up anyway. Of course, this is green, so it's going to do all kinds of crazy things with the chroma key. You know what I mean? Tailstock, because I don't trust the tenons a whole lot. So we'll just grab a hold of this guy. So first I can see that that's not centered, so I got to make a little center spot on here. Do. Let's have a little fun. Dun, dun, dun. I really do appreciate everybody coming to Monday Methods. Like I say, I have a ball out here. It's a good time. It's my time of each week to get out and turn. Good fun. Get my power controls here, fire up a little speed. We're in reverse. Let's go to forward. Hope I'm not talking too much. So I just needed to recenter that because it wasn't quite centered. Okay. Now we'll bring our tailstock up to find its center. Which one are we on? We're on 2. Okay. Move my controller to the other end. What should we make? I don't know. Let's just make a shape. Let's clean this thing up. We'll go from there. The thing about this 4-inch tool rest is the handle, banjo handle, just barely clears. Now it's got, let me go here. And these are the leaves. These were actually cast when they were live. I just went out and pulled some stuff off the flowers. A little high there. So there's just some stuff that's in there. Who knows what it'll be. It's not pretty at the moment, but that's really not what it's about. We'll get this squared up, trued up, whatever you want to call it. You like how the fan blows the ribbons away? There's a fan just off camera blowing right on me to keep me cool. And it blows, for the most part, it blows the ribbons off of me. That looks kind of strange. I see on the, as I'm watching the delayed feed, I see the green color looking kind of weird. This is a batch of resin, like I say, something happened weird to it. You can see how this, I'm getting that chatter. So sometimes resin doesn't always do what we want it to. That is a fact. Something we can't do anything about. I probably mixed it wrong. I know that these were 2 different batches that I mixed within a little bit of each other. And either I didn't mix one right or I'm not sure what. It's not always a perfect science in the resin world here. See, really strange colorations there that went on. Chemicals do what they will. Alright, so let's cut into this. Let's see, we're going to cut way into this. We're going to cut a bunch of this. We'll cut a lot of this, we'll cut this whole waste off of here. We're going to put a point up on this thing. These negative rate cutters do make easy work of it. You know what I might do? Remember I was talking about the coloring with the dye? If I have any dye in here, I might have some somewhere, I might just throw some dye on the top of this, because this top color is not very exciting. And just see if it'll do what I'm talking about. Alright, let's keep going. We're in the overhead. That's looking fine. Time is it? It is 11:49. So we're just having a little bit of fun until noon here. But I think I'll kind of bring this up to a point, some kind of a shape. And I'm going to throw some dye on it just for fun. Because another one I've got over there, I'll bring it over here and show you, but I don't have the right jaws set up today. Has wood exposed, but it's white, and I want to re-dye the wood. We could make the top of a Coke bottle. We could do that. What do you think? We could make a bottle. Put a bottle top on it. Haven't done that one before. Oh, that's hot. Old green Coke bottles. Who's old enough to remember green Coke bottles? I know a few of you out there are. Of course, we don't have the whole bottle here. I remember they went down, and that's what we're going to run out there, but they tapered down so you could grip them. Okay, fix a little bit of that right there. Let's clean up the tip of this. I'm just having fun here, but I always have fun. So I'm working on the nose here. Just a little the detail tool, negative rake detail tool, dropping right in there. I love turning resin because it's just, you can pour it up and then make whatever you want. So now we're starting to go down inside of our bottle. Okay. Alright, and I'm not going to sand this or anything. I will run over it with the radius tool real quick on the outside just for yucks. For what I can. And let's see, let's go back to, well, you can see that there pretty well. Just smooth that profile out, take those tool marks out from the round cutters. And I'll drop into the overhead for you. See, my head's not in the way. Thing with these radius cutters, you have to be careful, because if you get a corner to touch, then you get a whole new line, a whole new groove, which defeats the purpose. So you do want to be really careful with those, with that. Okay, yeah, I'm getting a little chatter right up there. Let's see if I can clean that chatter up. It may be because I don't have the grate, is that the tenon just isn't holding real well in the chuck there. Okay, all right, we got that. Kind of like these colors in a way, right there, just because. Let's jump inside here and just open up. I know that's a weird color. I see it because it's green. I gotta quit doing green stuff. Let's just kind of open this up. We'll take a little bit of the metal out of this, just for fun. Go to the end. Got to remember to change cameras. It'd be fun to go and hollow this all the way out, and you could easily make a reproduction resin Coke bottle or soda bottle or whatever. I say easily, it wouldn't be difficult, just be time consuming. You could make a bottle with feathers all in the sides, and clear resin. That could be kind of cool. Okay, so there we are with that. Now, real quick here, let me see if I can find some dye. I know the clock is going tick tock, tick tock. It's probably all next door. Nope, I see some. Can't be too particular on color here since I'm in a hurry. Okay. Indigo blue up on the, let's see what happens here. It may do what I want, it may do nothing. I'm not going to put on a glove, I'll go to lunch with blue fingers. I'm just going to put this on a paper towel. I'm in the overhead. There we go. So you can see how this does work, and I'm going to go inside of there now. So I think this is a technique that it's something I want to pursue with that squeaky voice, because it gives you options after the fact on things that you can do to make something unique. I'm going to get this stuff all over me. I am going to grab a glove. I don't think I have a brush handy. Oh yeah, I do. Let me do this. A brush and a cup, because now I want to paint this whole thing. Get my dye off of there for a second. Get this out of the way. All right, we're in the overhead camera. Put my dye in a cup. I'm going to dye this whole thing. Okay. So if I'm lucky, I took a really ugly piece of green and oddball pale resin, and I just made it indigo blue. All right. So there's nothing to say that you can't save. And to give you a comparison, you got to remember, which camera am I on? I'm on the overhead. You just can't quite see that. There's the color this was before. All right. It was that brackish muddy water up here and the green on the bottom. And we've gone to this violet, and just because I'm experimenting here at the last minute, let's see what happens if we wipe it down. So you can lighten it back up for an interesting look. All right. Now, as soon as that dries, and I'm going to give it like no time, because I'm going to spray lacquer on this. So I'm going to force feed this dry. I better put the cap on my dye. This really, I'm going to work on this. I think this is next week I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to take it further and do some planning. But if you had a piece of resin, or however you want to change the color on your resin. I mean, I think this is pretty cool. That thing was ugly. And we turned it into whatever shape. Put your dyes on there, and all of a sudden you've got a whole new piece. Gives you a world of things because you can do multiple colors and dyes, and you can do patterns. You could texture this, and I mean, it opens up a world of opportunities. So those of you who are very creative out there, and I won't mention any names, but I know you know who you are, give this a try. Okay? Now, it may not be completely dry, but I'm going to go with I don't care. I'm going to wipe off any excess because I just want to flash this with some lacquer just for fun. Just for fun. Okay? So back to the overhead. So now we can see the pieces of plant flowers in there a little bit again. Now you can't see them in that shot, but I can see them here. We have wonderful colors. We've got our teal below. We've got our violet top in the rim. And if I zoom in, you may not be able to see. We may not be able to get enough light on it, and it'll be out of focus, unfortunately. There it came into focus a little bit, but going the wrong way. So you can color, you can dye, and I'll put this out in the sunlight and shoot it with the camera and take a picture of it for you, and then hide the bottom. So you can dye resin and make whole new things out of something that maybe didn't work out the way you wanted it the first time. All right. So it's 12:02. Looks like it's time to say good day. I hope everybody had a good time. I really appreciate y'all coming out. It's been wonderful fun. We'll see what that piece looks like. It'll come out of the pot tonight or tomorrow morning. Or my feather cup, which fell over there on the table, into the chair. That was a great little project. I'll take a picture of it, get it another picture of it up out there. Take a picture of this. Resin turning, great fun. Working with the Sorby Patriot chuck. Like I say, Spiralcraft carries the Sorby Patriot chuck. All the EasyWood tools, all the Chromacraft products, all that good stuff. I had fun. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Have a good, safe week. Working on a couple specials here. My man Roper, those of you guys who know Roper, we've been working together. We're trying to put something together. So I'm just going to give you a little teaser on that. Everybody have a great week. I will see you next Monday, if not before. Keep an eye out for the posts of the pictures of this stuff. And take care. Be safe. Have a good day. And let's go there. Give you that. And never forget,